Okay, let's take a common everyday example that just about anybody could relate to. You're commuting to work. Now, whether you drive to work or you take transit or perhaps you even walk, you're on the move. There's a time crunch. There's a deadline. You've got to be somewhere. You've got to get going. Now, when you're driving, of course, there's a whole other set of risk factors. There's people who seem to be cutting you off, people who aren't paying attention, and there's really danger at every turn, quite literally. Perhaps if you're navigating the train station, the bus terminal, the mall, there's the hustle bustle. There's people everywhere. You've got to move. You've got to think. You've got to apprehend. Life is happening at its fullest when we are on the move. But this getting where we need to go is an everyday part of life. We'll do it as long as we're alive. In fact, some stats have shown that in a 40-year career, you would spend one whole year on the commute. So when we're doing something that much, isn't this something we'd like to do well, something we'd like to do with as little stress as possible? And so it's not uncommon to become stressed out while we're driving. The sun is in our eyes, we're going to be late, traffic jam, people driving like idiots. Is the bus going to be on time? What kind of people are going to be on that bus when I get there? Am I going to fall onto the train tracks? Any number of risk factors can happen when we're on the move, and that can become very overwhelming. So let's put these 3 mindfulness checkpoints to use. So thinking about commuting, there's the stress of driving, there's the stress of being on time, there's the stress of getting to where we need to go, navigating all these different challenges and risks. It is not uncommon then to be overcome by stress, to begin to have negative thoughts. And like we're saying, you're going to spend a year of your life commuting. Is that something that you want to make a habitually stressful experience? Do you want to spend an entire year of your life under stress? So let's think about that first question. Am I focused on the present? And you may say, yes, I am focused on the present. I'm focused on this idiot driving in front of me. All right, well, we'll get to that. If you find yourself coming into a stressful state, what can then often happen is our mind begins to search for issues that it can solve. So we simply must ask ourselves, am I focused on the present? And a great activity or behavior that we can undertake at this point is to start to focus on the present sensation. So when you're driving, truly, and you got to be careful here because we need to focus on the road. So maybe start there, but you feel the steering wheel in your hand. You feel the pedals on your feet. You feel the driver's seat enveloping you. And now you see the road. One thing I love to do is explore just how wide my field of vision truly is. I like to, again, watch what you're doing, but have that wide field of vision, looking up, looking all around, looking down the road, looking in your mirrors. What can I see? What can I feel? What do I hear? And I would also say too, if what you hear is loud blabber on the radio, consider turning it down just a hair. That sort of incessant, mindless chatter really can drive us into a stressed out state, especially if it's bad news or if it's the idiotic blabber that passes for discourse on the radio. If you find yourself under stress when you're commuting, take that time to ask yourself, what am I focused on? And can I come more to the present and the feeling and sensation of being a human being operating a motor vehicle? And the same would go with commuting or taking public transit, right? And that may be a good time to let your mind wander, but if you find that your mind is wandering into stress or negative thoughts or all these things that have gone wrong or all these things that I have to come to the present. What can I see? What can I smell? What can I feel around me? It's less about thinking at that point. It's less about thinking and more about the present sensation of your experience. So try it out. You find yourself stressed out doing some simple daily occurrence, become aware of what you're thinking and see if you can't spend a little bit of time thinking about the present sensation of simply existing. So when we choose to focus on what we are currently doing, those negative thoughts and those negative emotions will over time begin to recede into the back of our mind. At least this is what I have found to be the case, especially when attending to posture, to breathing, and to the sensations of simply being or doing. There's really not a lot of room left for what I did wrong last year or what the hell I have to do tomorrow. So I would say part of what I'm working on is coming to the present more regularly and realizing that so many of my problems are in the past and in the future, and in a sense, not real. At least they're not materially real. Of course, they're in my mind. They're things that have to be dealt with. But if they're causing negative reaction, negative emotion at a time where that is not wanted, here's where that mindfulness checkpoint comes in, and we can simply ask, am I focused on the present? All right, the second checkpoint, as I mentioned, is thinking and acting in unison. And, it really does piggyback off the first one we talked about, so I'll keep it really simple. Whether you're driving to work, or making dinner with your spouse, or cleaning up your room all alone, you will be much more efficient. You will experience much more joy if you are thinking about what you are doing. In fact, I would go so far as to say it is a glorious miracle that I am even alive to be able to clean my room or to make dinner or to do the dishes or to drive to work. And you may not be ready to make that assertion just yet, but when we're talking about mindfulness, it's worth noting that all these things we have to do are not necessarily good times to start ruminating on all these negative thoughts. And it is these negative thoughts that are driving your stress, driving your negative emotion. We're talking about finding times throughout our day where we can stop and come to the present, give it a rest with those thoughts. It's not going to be easy. And that's why I'm really advocating here to ask these questions of yourself in low stakes, easy, simple times. You're cleaning your room. Sure, that's a great time to think about all the things that you've done wrong in that room. But what if, instead of that, you just cleaned your room? You felt how the broom felt in your hands. You smelled how that disgusting artificial cleaner that you're using smells. You're looking at what you're doing. You're watching yourself fold the blanket, put the pen in the cup. It sounds ridiculous, but isn't it ridiculous to be doing something while thinking about something else and making yourself mad? One thing I have discovered, and I come and go from it because it's not easy, is that the magic is in the moment. It lies in our concentrated doing of the thing. The enjoyment stems from our physical apprehension and interaction with the world. Why then do we choose to ruin it with thoughts of things that are not real?